This morning we have on the program Minister of Education and the National Reconciliation, the Honorable Curtis King, and also volcanologist Dr. Thomas Christopher. Good morning to you, Minister. Good morning to you, Doctor. How are you doing?
A pleasant good morning, Johnny, and a pleasant good morning to listeners.
Doc, good morning to you. How have you been personally? I haven't seen you in a while.
I'm fine. I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah, you're good.
I'm doing well.
All right. You have an update for us in terms of the overnight activities at the Soufriere.
Yes, I do. And basically, not much has happened at this volcano overnight. What we've been having is some minor mudflow signals. And I'm guessing we had some localized showers, probably on the flanks of the volcano. But we have not gotten any earthquakes or anything related to the volcano being wanting to give us any problems at the moment.
All right. And we expect some rains over the weekend according to the Met Office. The Met Office, a flash flood watch is in effect for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. What can be some of the consequences of that real mud flows?
Yeah, really intense mud flow activity, probably more intense than what was happening last week. I had a drive into the red zone. When was it? Yesterday, I think. Actually, the day before yesterday. Made it to as far as the village of Point. And I mean, it's quite sad what some of these lahars have done to some of these communities, especially in Sandy Bay, where they've destroyed a few homes. So I think now that you've already have these lahars coming down and making a path, what's going to happen is that it's just going to get worse, especially with more rain. So those areas that have already been impacted will probably be impacted more. And you might have some new areas that get impacted. So probably the width of these rivers might actually increase. The floodplains may actually extend laterally simply because you've got that much sedimentation already downslope in the low flanks of the rivers.
All right, and the alert level has moved from red to orange. What might be the differences? What you expected in the red that you won't expect in the orange level, so to speak?
Well, I think the main difference between red and orange is that when we were at red, we were expecting explosive activity fairly soon, whether it be within hours or even days. Orange just means that it's still in a state of unrest, but for some reason it's not primed to explode or do something really dangerous at the moment. So, for instance, when it started to extrude that dome, it would have probably been in orange for an extended period of time, because even though it was erupting, it wasn't a dangerous eruption at the time yet.
Right.
When we saw the explosions coming, that is when we changed the alert level to red. But just at the moment, the explosion seems to have backed off a bit. We haven't had one for a while. So it probably makes sense to lower the alert level a bit, just to relax a bit. If we see reason for any changes in that, we will inform the authorities accordingly. And it probably might be raised back up to red if we think that there are more explosions coming. But right now, we have no reason to think that there are any coming.
Quick question before I allow the minister, if he has any question for you, coming in here on WhatsApp. What effect does the emission of sulfur have on the climate around St. Vincent or the atmosphere in general? I know probably you've answered this question before, but...
Yeah, I think sulfur dioxide is a aerosol that's emitted from every single volcano. And I mean, I don't think it will affect St. Vincent locally. If you pump enough sulfur dioxide into the air, like some volcanoes would have done, what you get is sort of a global cooling over time. So for instance, I think Mount Pinatubo that erupted in 1992 would have resulted in a global temperature drop by about 2 degrees over the next year or so. So what it does, it more or less creates a situation where it cools the earth down. But it wouldn't directly affect the island in terms of like causing problems here. That's what you're asking me.
All right. We have the Minister of Education in studio. I'm just will allow him now to ask any questions if he has any. Minister King, good morning again. And any questions for Dr. Christopher?
All right, thank you very much, Johnny. Dr. Christopher, a pleasant good morning. And once again, let me extend the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines appreciation to you and your team for the wonderful work that you continue to do to ensure that we are informed and we could take actions to ensure our safety. My question this morning, Doc, I had the opportunity to visit on the leeward side yesterday. Actually, we went with the Coast Guard yesterday and we went around the island of St. Vincent. And what struck me was, one, the greenery in terms of that part of the island. I thought that despite the fact that rain fell, that the place was still green. I don't know. We were out at sea and not inland. So certainly perhaps I have my vision might have been obscured by the fact that I was far away, but I was struck by the greenery that still exists, even though you could see large deposit of ash. What I want to ask, Doc, like in 1902, that the defining feature, it would seem, would have been the destruction caused by that eruption, and destruction not only to the physical environment but death. I'm wondering, what would you say is the defining feature, if you could identify one, of this eruption, the 2021 eruption?
Well, I don't think the eruption has come to an end yet. Yeah. So there might be some more to be written. But I think the highlights of this eruption would basically be how it unfolded and how it was dealt with. I think the destruction of the environment is always going to be inevitable.
Yes.
What you can mitigate for is the destruction of property and the loss of life. That's the only thing we can control. But the areas that are going to be impacted will be impacted. So basically all we can do is to try and prevent loss of life and loss of property as much as possible. Now, loss of life is easier because it's easier to move people than to move a house. So in terms of reducing loss of property for future eruptions, I guess some sort of zonation might need to be put in play in terms of where it makes sense to build. And this is mostly for the lahars, because as you've noticed, there have been no pyroclastic flows into the windward side. And I don't think there was any historical record of that happening. The major issue with the windward side is being cut off at the Rebecca Bridge. But it's highly unlikely that you will get pyroclastic flows into places like Sandy Bay or Oya. It's not impossible, but it's highly unlikely. So I think the major issues they would have in there would be lahars coming through the community and being cut off by the Rebecca Bridge. The Rebecca Bridge issue has been mitigated by a jetty in Oya. However, the mud flow issue, I guess you have to try and find better places to build houses and not on the floodplains of these rivers, because they will take the houses away from you when the time comes. So for me, I think the highlight of this eruption would be the fact that there was no loss of life. I think that's the best result that we could have asked for. And we have gotten that so far.
All right, thank you very much. And continue to do your do. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Another quick question, Dr. Christopher. Coming in. What amount of daily SO2 is being released from the volcano? The daily SO2 release?
Yeah, it's varying a bit. We've never had two values which have been quite the same. Basically, I think the first value we got on the 15th was around 800 tons per day. It's sort of fell away down to around 250 tons per day. Then we got a value around 900 tons per day sometime after that. And then one of 1,000 tons per day, I think it was Sunday last Sunday.
Okay.
So it's moving around a bit. It's not really steady, and that tells us a lot about how the volcano is behaving. Because if you were to bring up a batch of magma and isolate it and have it degas, basically the gas flux would start at whatever level, and it should systematically fall away as the magma is losing gas. However, what we're seeing here is the gas seems to be going up at times and coming down at times. It's difficult to say if there is some sort of top control in this, if it's being sealed at the top sometimes, so we're not seeing all of it, or if all of that variation is from the source. That is something that we need to verify. But something is modulating the gas. And let me just say 1,000 tons per day is quite a lot of sulfur dioxide. That is no joke. That's quite a bit.
Final question.
So, yeah.
Final question before I let you go. Outside of the lahars and mud flows, what are some of the other potential hazards going forward, seeing that we're in the orange zone at the moment?
Yeah, but okay. So what the ash would have done, as the minister pointed out, it would have stripped the vegetation of leaves. So basically what it's doing is basically making the land naked. I'm not sure if you had a chance to look at the volcano on the clear day, but you can see every ridge on that volcano because it's no longer covered. And that would increase erosion, full stop. So what may happen as well in other parts of the country, you may have these landslides happening along these steep roadsides where the vegetation is no longer able to hold the soil in place. So if it rains enough, there might be instances of these collapses coming across roads or just in areas away from the volcano where you can have landslides.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Thomas Christopher, and continue to stay safe. We'll catch up with you next time. All right.
Thank you.
All right. 107.5, 90.7 FM, www.nbcsvg.com. I on La Soufriere, Friday morning, the edition. In studio, as you know, we have Minister of Education and the National Reconciliation, the Honorable Curtis King, and a little later on we'll be standing by to bring to you that address by Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Ralph E. Gonsalves as he addressed the United Nations high-level meeting this morning. So, Minister King, I give it your high level. Minister King, we get into education. I know we have to stand by for Prime Minister for his address, so I'll allow you to go through with your presentation uninterrupted if necessary.
Okay.
Of course, we talk education at this time.
Okay, thank you very much again, Johnny. Basically, as we had indicated, meaning the Ministry of Education, as we had indicated earlier in the week and at the end of last week, the education program right now, the focus is on returning to some level of instructions to our students. I have indicated over a number of programs that basically following the interruption to our students' education, we had planned to resume school on the 12th of April. And at the time, the interruption was due primarily to the eruption of the La Soufriere volcano, at least the explosive phase of that eruption. Of course, we had other issues like the dengue fever and so on. But, and really and truly, by January, the major issue was COVID-19. Unfortunately, before school was recommenced on the 12th, there was the eruption on the 9th of April. So we then look at all the issues and recognize that we had to return to school in a phased manner. And secondly, the level of instruction had to be blended. Mm-hmm. Now, we say phased because we did recognize, and still do recognize, that we had to look at different categories, different cohorts of students, and look at the relative importance that they possess in terms of what their program entails. So, firstly, we decided that basically the students at the shelters, they were basically moving away from their home, not in an environment that was conducive to education. But nevertheless, we could engage them in some sort of learning activities and at the same time deal with some other aspect of the program that would bring some level of relief and comfort that would help to strengthen them psychosocially. Okay, and hence beginning on Monday 3rd of this week, yes, we started a program we call Return to Happiness. Yes, and this basically is being done in the shelters, and the lead for this program is being done by the guidance counselors. Next week, May 10th, the idea is that we are going to move to a level of informal learning programs, if you like. And here we are talking about to students in basically all the zones, okay? And this basically is, if you like, to put them in a state of readiness for the uptake in the academic program that would be pursued after. And even while I say academic program, I have to explain that yes, while it is an academic program, it will not be focused primarily on, say, examinations, preparation. I'm talking here about the other students. I've not come yet to the students who are doing exams, right? But the emphasis would be on focusing on the skills that these students need at the upper level, at the form that they would be moving into come September, October, whenever the new school year begins. Okay? And the final phase would be, well, not the final phase, the next phase would be Monday, 17th May, when we are hoping to have the students who are doing the suite of external examinations administered by CXC return to school for face-to-face instructions. Here I'm speaking about the grade 6 classes, the Form 5 classes. And basically, what we have decided is that these students will need about 6 to 8 weeks of face-to-face instructions in order to have them better prepared for their examinations. We are still on, I could report quite naturally that we are almost to the end of the negotiations with CXC. But what we know so far, and we have indicated this to the general public, is that we have secured from CXC the understanding that our students would be doing the exams later than the other students in the Caribbean. So we are hoping that that extra time that has been provided to us, we would be able to utilize that properly in providing our students with the needed instructions to help them to be prepared for their exams. And as I'm saying, that sort of face-to-face instruction will commence on Monday 17. Now, we all know that the schools in the safe zones are actually being occupied by, well, most of them are being occupied by persons who have sought shelters from the volcanic eruption. And that in itself has posed a significant challenge. But we have had our team of officials working, and what we have done is to basically establish learning hubs throughout the safe zones, basically orange, yellow, and green. I include orange because, as you know, the alert level has been reduced, and therefore persons in the orange zone
Can go back.
can go back. And we are seeking to utilize learning hubs in these places. A lot of these learning hubs are basically public buildings as well as churches and other private owned facilities. And students basically will be housed in these facilities to facilitate the 6 to 8 weeks of face-to-face instructions and to do their exams also.
I was going to ask about the exams.
Yes.
Same venues will be used.
Yes, okay. Basically, because the whole idea is to get these students comfortable with the spaces that they utilize. Now, that is absolutely important because you would recognize, one, when I was here the last time, we were debating what format the assessment will take for the people who are doing, for the students who are doing CPEA. That is a high-stake exam here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines because it deals with placement into the secondary schools. And you know our people, if what is done is not seen to be transparent, then you're going to have no ends of criticism. So it was felt when we examined all the conditions that the fairest way to deal with the placement of these students will be to host an examination. And so those exams would be done in late to middle July.
That was a discussion exactly after you came off the program downstairs. That was a discussion outside the yard.
The last time I was here, yes.
Exact discussion.
Yes, and naturally, because let us face it, people are still convinced that the school you attend will determine your future endeavors in life. I would not contest that, except to say that, yes, I can't deny that there is some level of influence there, but it is changing because we have seen a significant improvement in terms of the resources, both human and material, that are allocated to the respective secondary schools. And more now, schools are getting closer to each other in terms of their programs, so that more and more you would hear the comment now that it doesn't really matter so much which school you attend, as much as how you put yourself in a position to maximize the opportunity being offered. And therefore, you could attend this school or that school. In the end, you will make something of your life once you use the opportunity properly. And then, basically, Johnny, in the final phase, we are hoping by, say, May 24th, 25th, that all of the students will be engaged in some form of instruction, whether it be online instructions or face-to-face. Now, we would recall that where online instruction is concerned, the last time we engaged with that sort of instruction, there was a lot of complaints. And naturally, people had the right to complain because there were issues with connectivity, with access to internet, with devices and so on. And we have heard those cries, and we have moved to enhance the situation, both at the level of connectivity and access. Although I must say, we could never really perfectly resolve access because it is not always within our hands, but we are still working and bringing that closer to 100%. Where the devices are concerned, though, we have been working on that, in that we are distributing devices at the present time.
Minister King,
yes?
I have to stop you.
Yes,
I see Prime Minister is on the rostrum.
Okay.
Came in a bit early than was scheduled. So we'll bring Prime Minister's address to the United Nations at this moment.
Emphasis on today's discussion. This foundational principle is applicable to and for all states, large and small, in every part of the world. Commandis, bullying or threatening behavior by any state in relation to another is antithetical to this precept and portends dangerous consequences for all. an existential imperative, undergirded by the UN Charter principles of sovereignty, territorial integrity, and political independence. Amidst the severe health, socioeconomic, political, and security implications of COVID-19, states are required to contend with the ever-intensifying hazards of climate change, the continued spread of terrorism and organized crime, increased hunger and acute food security, political polarization, disinformation, and hate speech, the escalation of ethnic and intercommunal tensions, and in far too many contexts, conflict and mass human displacement. These contemporary challenges are inextricably interconnected, and they will not be successfully addressed by any short-sighted, unilateral, or military means. To the extent that many of these issues stretch across borders and more easily overwhelm the limited capacities of vulnerable states, effective and coordinated multilateral action is an essential condition for any sustainable solution. Only a comprehensive whole-of-system approach would suffice in addressing the peace and security, developmental and humanitarian concerns of the affected states. Mr. President, in the face of vast but continually expanding peace and security challenges experienced globally, we must move quickly in a fresh direction. Bold and innovative steps are needed to alleviate human suffering, especially in conflict-affected settings. Capacity building and development assistance should be scaled up, and national ownership over peace and political processes strengthened. Practical, inclusive, people-centered, and climate-sensitive solutions ought to be developed and implemented in line with national needs and priorities and in accordance with the Sustainable Development Goals. It is necessary and desirable that all states must work together constructively and within the framework of international law, with the support and assistance of the United Nations and relevant regional and sub-regional organizations to achieve this vision of a more peaceful and prosperous world. When disputes do occur, they ought to be settled amicably and equitably through dialogue, diplomacy, mediation, and other participatory approaches, rather than through unilateral or coercive means. There can be no substitute for trust and mutual respect. Any deviation from these universally accepted norms, wheresoever and by whomsoever committed, severely undermines the ideals of multilateralism embodied in the UN Charter. St. Vincent and the Grenadines reiterate its commitment to these guiding principles. To conclude, Mr. President, let us all be reminded of our forebears' vision of unity and solidarity as they fashioned this United Nations system. As we seek to confront the unique and complex challenges of the 21st century, including a sustainable recovery from the COVID pandemic, which, as we all know, has already destroyed far too many lives and livelihoods, the extant circumstances demand the presence of a renewed and effective multilateralism, steeped in the virtues of inclusivity, equality, and justice, and guided by the principles of international law. We cannot remain separated by narrow interests or be divided in purpose. We must work in committee even more together, urgently and resolutely, to realize peace, security, and development for all of humanity. I thank you.
107.5, 90.7 FM, www.nbcsvg.com. We are the sound of the nation. That was Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Ralph E. Gonzalez addressing a United Nations high-level meeting virtually on the topic maintenance of international peace and security, upholding multilateralism, and the United Nations-centered international system. We're into our program, Eye on Soufriere, morning's edition. Before we broke away, we were chatting with Minister of Education and National Reconciliation, the Honorable Curtis King. And you were making a point, Minister, about the online learning and what...
Yes, I was saying the last time we had some challenges, and we have moved to address some of these challenges. And I was also indicating that some of these challenges are basically beyond our control. Nevertheless, we are making the effort to see how best we could deal with them. At the point when we broke, I think I was dealing with the distribution of devices.
Right.
We had before distributed some 17,000 devices to students in the secondary schools, the grade 6 and most of the grade 5 classes, as well as to students at the community level and teachers at the primary and secondary level. Since then, we have received almost 7,000 tablets, new sets, and these are what are being distributed now to the students in grades 2, grades 2, 3, 4, and those students in Kingstown from the grade 5 class that did not receive. So that is being done as we speak. The other issue with in terms of students returning to school, and we have two special cohorts. One, the students in the Grenadines. We will recognize that, and some schools also on St. Vincent, because of size and location, were not that impacted by the volcano. And we are allowing these schools to return in full where they can do so once the protocols are adhered to. And I'm talking about the COVID-19 protocols. Okay, so it need not keep the students at home if they are not affected, and hence let them have a chance to further reduce their learning loss and recover from their learning loss. Okay, where the community college is concerned, the community college again was not as affected as other institutions in terms of the physical structure. Of course, there were students who were affected, and the college would have identified those students in terms of names and numbers. And they have had several meetings with their immediate stakeholders. And it is the conclusion that the college returned to instruction to their students. In any event, they had done better at the online instructional mode. So the college is doing now what is called a blended approach, where the students are still online, but where they are required face-to-face to deal with practicals, they are expected to return to the classrooms. And these are being managed and done by the college, so that those students are also engaged. I did talk about the students who are doing the exams this year, but the nature of the syllabus where CXC is concerned is a 2-year program basically, both at the level of the primary and secondary schools. So although I indicated that the students from Form 5 at the secondary level and grade 6 from the primary level will be returning to school, the understanding there is also is that the grade 5 who would have started the CXC syllabus first term, in September, December term, they would also be expected to return to school to continue that syllabus. Similarly, the Form 4 class at the secondary level. Now, the challenge there, again, is having the teachers, a large number of whom are involved in the shelter management at the respective institutions. Now, these teachers have to be freed up so that they could do the teaching. So we are still in discussions, seeing how best we can have, in the first instance, those teachers who are immediately needed at the examination levels to be freed up so that they could conduct the face-to-face instruction. It therefore means that we will be appealing to the broader government to engage more of our public servants, civil servants, and more of our community volunteers in the management of these shelters, at least those that remain, because we expect that with the reduction of the alert level, that many persons from the shelters will be returning home. In fact, some have been doing so. So we will continue to have our teachers redeployed so that they could engage in teaching these students.
Right. With many of the schools being used, as you mentioned, as emergency shelters for the foreseeable future, what are some of the potential long-term implications for the education system of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines?
Well, certainly, as we are saying, we would have challenges both from the level of the physical structures as well as the human resource. And that is what I was saying. The earlier we have people being returned to their homes, better for us. But we recognize that in the red zones, you're going to have some challenge, because even though you reduce the alert level, and even though you say it is safe to return to the so-called red zones at the time, well, I shouldn't say so-called, return to the red zone, once it is safe to do so, the challenge will be the rebuilding. If you take, for example, the Sandy Bay Secondary School, that school was severely damaged. The roof caved in, a significant part of the roof caved in, and you have other impact on other schools in that zone. Also, the cleaning up would also be significant in terms of time and resources. So we will have some challenge in the immediate future in terms of how we deal with getting these buildings physically back to that level so that they could accommodate students. Fortunately, we had embarked on a project to rebuild and enhance some schools. Remember that project we talked about in the national budget about enhancing 9 schools? Well, the Sandy Bay Secondary School was one earmark for rebuilding. And so what we had decided to do was to build a temporary school for the Sandy Bay secondary school students. That temporary building was to be located in Sandy Bay. Now we have to look elsewhere. We have to be looking elsewhere now to determine where best to put that school so that the students who are not at home can access it without any great difficulty. With regards to the human resources, that might be easier to deal with in the sense that, yes, our teachers are very much involved, and I want to thank them and commend them, the principals and teachers who are doing a wonderful job in terms of the management of these shelters. But we have to redeploy them, and that is why I was outlining earlier that we are basically appealing to the broader government level where we can have some of the civil servants and public servants, if you like, engage now, and volunteers from the different communities engage in the management of these shelters so that the teachers can be freed up so that they could go ahead and do what they're basically trained to do, teach our children.
You mentioned on the 17th you'll start some face-to-face classes with the CPA and Form 5.
Yes.
Do you have a set time yet for the exams after that, or?
Well, we have a set period. Let me put it this way. Why I say set period? Because we have submitted dates to the CXC. And at 3:30 p.m. this afternoon, we have a follow-up meeting again with CXC. Hopefully, this might be the final one. I'm hoping so. But we are going to be fine-tuning all those details, timetabling, dates, and timeline for the education. But we have had general agreement that these exams would be held July, in late July in the case of the CPE exam, and July, August, even August, September for the CSEC examinations.
And of course,
And CAPE, of course.
And of course, the COVID-19 protocols will be in place when they return.
Once we return to face-to-face instructions, yes, those protocols relating to the schools governing the operations of school under COVID-19, they will be adhered to. Yes, the face mask and so on, yes.
Minister of Education and National Reconciliation, the Honorable Curtis King in studio. You can give us a call, 457-2705, Magic Jack 516-350-9891. Those are the numbers to call. If you have any questions or comments, you can also WhatsApp your questions, messages to 457-2705. We have a call already. Good morning. You're live on Soufriere. Good morning. You're live on NBC. Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Go right ahead.
Good morning.
Mr. King,
Yes, good
I
morning.
have a kindergarten student, and my question is, will they be getting a tablet?
Yes, but the truth is we have not yet received those tablets. Yes, but the kindergarten and the grade 1, they will also be receiving their tablets.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yes,
We have
okay.
actually ordered them already. And the truth is they have been ordered a long time, but we have been getting some challenges in terms of the delivery.
Oh, okay. Because it's kind of hard for me doing the online class with her on my phone.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
know.
because it's like she's not really paying great attention. But if I get something a bit bigger, I
Yes.
figure she might be more.
Yes, I appreciate that and I understand the difficulty. But, boy, I know I have to ask you to be a little patient, little more patient. You would get them, right? We know we would get them, but I can't give you an exact time frame because the last thing I know is that they were already ordered, and so we look forward to their arrival.
Okay, then. Thank you.
We have another call in the line. Hello, good morning. I think we lost that one. 457-2705, Magic Jack 516-350-9891.
Yes, Johnny, the other thing is, I mean, the challenges are many, and it is, okay, we have
a caller. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the program. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Go right ahead.
Good morning.
I have some questions to Mr. King. I didn't get to hear everything that he was saying at first, but I would like to give me a rundown because I have 4 grandboys who goes to the primary. One in grade 1, grade 4, grade 5, and grade 3. And which of the school will get face-to-face learning for them because they're from South Central Windward? And how will they get in the class?
Okay, well,
Also, you please give me a rundown of what you were saying because I wasn't listening at first. So please give me a rundown.
You missed a lot.
you missed a lot, and we don't have a lot of time, but I'll try. Now, basically, what was indicated is that we have established learning hubs. That is to say, alternative venues for the classes. So in communities where the churches have agreed, we will be utilizing their buildings. There are some communities with universities. They have also given permission. There are some communities with public or government-owned buildings where we have also had permission. We will be using these to provide a location for students who will be returning for face-to-face instruction. That's one. With regards to the grade 3 student, I think she said one is in grade 3. The grade 6 and 5 students would have been covered in what I just said. The grade 3 student will receive a device that would allow that student to continue his or her education, which would be blended, some online, some face-to-face. The grade 1 student, for the time being, that child will not be able to collect a device because those for grade 1 and the kindergarten grade K class, they have not yet, the devices have not yet arrived for those students.
Someone is asking about grade 5. When will they get those?
Well, grade 5, the grade 5 class is in Kingston. They will get there.
From Kingston Preparatory.
Right. They are getting theirs in this rollout. And this rollout started on Monday, 3rd May. So I don't have the exact time for the individual schools, but they are getting theirs now.
4572705 Mandra Jack 516-350-9891. We have a call on the line. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. I think we lost that. Oh, we have it. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the program. Hello. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to the program.
Yes, good morning.
Hey, Minister, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. I have been listening to the presentations regarding education for a while, and the trend coming out of this seems to be that parents themselves have mostly relinquished the responsibility of guiding their children. Well, not all parents, guiding their children where education is concerned, especially the tender ages, like kindergarten and grade 1 and grade 2 and stuff and so, and have relinquished the responsibility to that of a device, And I can remember as a child, my parents, if we are home on holidays, vacation, we used to call it holidays, long time, school holidays, they would also assign us some schoolwork in the morning on specific days and say, well, we used to call it sums. Give you some sums to do.
I know that.
Get a little book to read and to write a little passage. And then when the parents themselves get a little time now, they would review it and go over it. And not necessarily to be a teacher in a child's life, but to occupy the child educationally while they themselves as parents are busy doing something else, and the children had to continue their education. Now, most of the talk I'm hearing now from most parents who call in and ready to speak publicly is about their child not having a device to do the work. Because I heard a lady a little while ago was speaking about a kindergarten child and the difficulty of having her follow the education programs on a cell phone. So she was wondering if the child would also get a tablet. But I have also noticed that most of the tablets that have been distributed to most of the children at school are not put to the use for which they were distributed. So I am wondering what is the role of the parent in tender age children's lives where education is concerned and not just be using a device or a tablet as a babysitter while the parents go off doing something else and not pay attention. Because if you have 3 children at home, tender age children, and you're going down to wash or you're going to wash or do something, you're going to buy something and stuff and so, and these children are at home and stuff, you assign them some educational task from a book, and they can take care of that, and even we can continue with the online education. It is not as effective as the face-to-face, but there are supplementary things that can be done by a parent to occupy children educationally. But I'm getting the impression here that everybody wants a tablet so that the children can have tablets, and that is the only way they can continue their education. So I don't know if you have a comment that you want to make. It's just an observation from listening to the presentations on the radio. I have concluded that most parents have relinquished the responsibility of guiding their children properly where education is concerned, and have given this, authority over to the ownership of a device where the children can be occupied, and whether educationally or otherwise, but the children are occupied. It becomes like a babysitter,
Yeah.
But I think the educational part of it, like where the government is concerned, the teachers are concerned, and the parents are also should be concerned. And the parents should be more proactive in children's education. Give them some work from something to do, and when you get a little time, go over the work with them and see if they would have done some, or even if they would have done it at all, become proactive in the education. That's my observation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller.
Well, yes, you have a...
Yeah, someone is
Okay.
asking about the implementation, if the ministry plans to implement a uniform way of dress when the face-to-face recommence.
Well, again, we will be governed by the protocols established by the Ministry of Health. And I know there's a protocol relating to the dress code based on the presence of dengue fever. So once that is in place, we will continue to observe that protocol.
4572705. Hello, good morning. You're live on our program. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, my former teacher.
Good morning, Mr. Minister.
Good morning, teacher.
Mr. Minister, I have one question for you. I don't know if you addressed it already. It's related to the grade 6 students. Many of them have been using their devices period of time.
Getting a bad feedback there, ma'am. Hello?
Hello?
Okay, go right ahead.
Should I start over?
No, I heard you. Many of them have been using their devices, yes.
Right. And they are now experiencing some little problem. I want to know what is in place to have these devices checked. Anything in place to have them checked?
Or they're experiencing problems with their devices?
Yes. There have been, some of them, to me, have been overworking the devices, and they have a little problems here and there. I just want to know if anything is in place for these devices to be serviced.
Oh, well, I would have to check out that. I know we have a department, but I don't know what is in place yet for checking these devices. I'd have to check that because, to be honest, it has not really come up before. So I'd have to check it out.
Well, I was chatting with a little fellow. He expressed that to me, so I...
Yeah, what I know, some persons have complained that their device might have been stolen, might have been damaged, and so on. But in terms of the performance, I'm not sure.
Yeah, this
I'll
one.
have to check that out.
Yes, just check that for me, please,
Yes.
Minister.
Of course I will.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you very
All
much.
right, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Same to you, sir.
All right.
Thank you very much. We have another call in line. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the program. Hello.
Hi, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm great, thanks. What about you?
Yes, I'm fine.
Go right ahead.
Right, so I don't know if I am in late, but what I just want to find out, Mr. King mentioned earlier about reopening of schools, schools that are not really affected with the Soufriere. There are few schools also on the mainland, I think, like private schools.
Yeah.
Are they given the right away also that we can open?
Of course, yes. Yes, I was making that point. There are some schools that are very small. There are some schools in certain locations that are not impacted. The teachers are available. I don't see why we should have them not reopen. So
right. So is this a decision that just made this morning, or
no,
you touched base with some of the schools before?
No, this is a discussion that we have had at the ministry level, and we basically, we will be communicating a lot of details commencing this evening and Monday, because remember, we have school scheduled to restart on the 17th. But yeah, these are issues that we have discussed. I wouldn't come and make a decision here this morning.
Okay. Well, I'm just,
fair enough.
All right then. Well, thank you for clearing that up, and you have a continually good work.
Yes.
I must say.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your call. We have another call on the line. Hello, good morning. Welcome. Oh, we lost that one. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the program. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Calvin.
This is Johnny P. Good morning. And
Johnny P. Oh, my goodness, boy. Minister King.
Yes.
Back to what's going on?
Good morning. Yes, man. I recognize the voice. Yes.
Yeah. I'm listening to the program. Good information. I have a couple of parents asked me about, and they wanted me to ask you what is with regards to C-sex.
Yeah.
One parent in particular, and maybe you have discussed it, I haven't heard it, but one parent in particular was very concerned that the Vincentian C-sex students would be at a disadvantage, because, first of all, because of some loss of instructional time during the COVID, and then now with Soufriere and all the logistical challenges that we may have. Minister heard you talking about plans to get back to face-to-face and so on. It's very challenging, but I just wanted to call on behalf of those parents to find out what is the government's approach towards. One parent was suggesting that maybe the government should ask that the Vincentian C-sex students be exempted from the exams this year and be evaluated differently. I don't know how that could work. He didn't really make any
Unfortunately, Fitz, we went through all that discussions with stakeholders. The truth is, all Caribbean students were affected. In fact, Trinidad at present is closed down, and their students have been out of school now for a long time without face-to-face instruction, despite the fact that they don't have a volcano, a volcanic eruption. But the COVID-19 has hit them hard. And so CXC had approached, or the government had approached CXC, and we had a discussion at the level of the ministers of education. And in recognition of the disadvantage to Caribbean students, the exams were delayed and all deadlines were pushed back. Now, following that and following the explosive eruptions in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines approached CXC and asked for special consideration, which is what they have given, so that further to their deferment of the exam, they have further deferred those exams.
Okay, cool.
So that, in a sense, we have been given special consideration.
Okay, well, those parents would be happy to hear that, because even I myself wasn't aware of that. But thanks for that. Thanks for that.
No problem.
Yeah. All right, man. You guys take care.
Okay, you too.
We'll take a final call at this time. I know you have to have some other meetings to deal with. Final call. Good morning. Welcome to our program. Final call for the day.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Go right ahead.
Yes, I want to talk to Mr. Minister.
He's listening.
I'm listening. Good morning.
King, yeah. He had a problem with them tablets where the government being give out for them students, which is for college and grade 6. I can't remember what we did when they come. But them tablets, they have a little problem because some of them screens get broken and we had to pay $300 to repair the screen. So I want to know if any assistance from the government for doing that.
How they got broken? They got broken by the fault of the student or the user? Huh? No, I'm saying, if we did not distribute broken tablets, so obviously, if due to your own fault, the tablets were damaged, then you have to bear the cost.
Because a good bit of people community the same problem they with their school broken.
Yes, but I'm making the point that clearly, where you are responsible for the damage, you have to for the cost. Of course, I can't say that I know it otherwise. Yes. Yes.
Well, it seems like the tablets come with a fault there. I don't know why. How come they're easy to break like that?
But the tablets came with cases.
I don't know. Okay then. Thank you.
Yeah, all the best.
Thank you so much for your call.
Yes.
Final thoughts, Minister King?
Yes, just a couple. First, I want to extend my own condolences on behalf of myself and my family to the family of the late Pierre Campbell, Mrs. Julie Campbell, one of my favorite teachers, Johnny. She used to be one of my favorite teachers at the grammar school. Plenty of people don't know that she taught. Okay, so I want to just extend.
That's before my time
there. Yes. But certainly Mr. Campbell was an outstanding nation builder, and on the passing of Mr. Campbell, I just want to extend my condolences to his family. Secondly, I just want to clarify something I heard being said by a public figure. And I think I should clarify it, because sometimes when you leave these things and you don't say anything, they become acceptable and they become accepted as truth. Now, I heard one public figure indicating, for example, that in the case of the shelters, we have 7,000 persons in shelters.
About 89 shelters.
Right. And some 21,000 meals are prepared daily for these 7,000 persons at the shelters. But when the public figure spoke, he basically said that there are 21,000 meals being provided. There are 7,000 people at the shelter, an next 7 public shelter, and the next 7,000 in private homes. That gives you 14,000 persons. And if you're preparing 21,000 meals, then you distribute 14,000, and the other 7,000, it is left for the discretionary use of the government, our governing party. Come on, we can't. I want to feel that the person didn't understand. Let me give him the benefit of the doubt, right? If that is the case, no, that is not so. The 7,000 persons at the shelter, they are being provided with 3 meals: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So if you calculate it, 3, 7 is 21. So you have 21,000 meals, but it's not 21,000 dinner, or 21,000 lunches, or 21,000 breakfasts. So please, don't let us say these things, because what usually happens when we allow these things to fester, people run with these things in social media, and it creates a bad image for the country. Look, we are living in challenging time, and it is hard. We are actually, as a government, going to the parliament with a supplementary appropriation bill of just over $100 million. And I say this too because I want to clarify the next thing that I heard people saying, that where all the money that people giving the government going. Don't get tricked. Some of the assistance that we are getting, most of it, the assistance is coming in kind. That is to say, not in cash. So it's not like the government collecting a whole set of cash. So you put it in the government account and it is there. No. If you take, for example, we launch a fund here with the United Nations to raise something like 29 point something million dollars. That funds are going to be challenged through agencies of the United Nations to deliver the assistance to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So please, we are living in challenging times. Let us combine our effort. Let us work together so that we could reduce these challenges, so that we could surmount these challenges, so we could conquer them. Don't make it harder by creating these kind of mischief, I would say, because trust me, when we make statements like those, they have a way of taking on a life of their own, and people leave with a whole set of misunderstanding. Other than that, let me encourage persons to stay strong. Let us work together. We are going to survive. You know, I always go back to Razum's masterpiece, perseverance. Let us persevere. We are resilient people, and we're going to make it at the end of the day. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much. Minister of Education in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Honorable Curtis King, Minister of Education and National Reconciliation, on the program this morning. And earlier on the program, we had volcanologist Dr. Thomas Christopher giving us an update on the volcanic activities. English for a morning's edition with the good wishes of Basic Needs, a Trust Fund, Facey Trading, and the Flow. This is how we flow. I want to thank the Minister, thank Dr. Christopher, and the listeners, the callers, those who sent questions and comments, and the callers. Thanks for listening. My name is Johnny Pistraker.